I'm just going to introduce our speaker, Peter Hedlund. Peter's worked for Ordnance Survey for over 4 years and has over 20 years experience in the technology industry, where he has held senior positions in both global corporations as well as fast-growing technology startup companies. Peter, who has been based in the Middle East region for the last 14 years, has developed and delivered international business strategies to support business objectives and growth for several technology firms. Peter holds a Master's in Business Administration, an MBA, and has studied at Harvard, Stockholm School of Business, and Vienna School of Economics. And with that, I'm just going to hand over now to Peter.
Thank you for the introduction, Greg. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. I indeed hope you are staying safe wherever you are in the world. On screen, I hope that you see the topics I'm looking to touch on in today's webinar. Each of these topics are very deep in themselves, and we could have several webinars around each and every one of them, to be honest. What is important to highlight, though, is that based on our experience in Ordnance Survey, they are all critical components when it comes to economic development and socio-economic development for countries and its citizens. And I hope that by sharing successful studies around the world, key stakeholders such as your own governments can see the real value unlocked by investing into geospatial data as such. So with that, let me get started. As we move further into the 2020s, governments around the world face new challenges, from population growth and urbanization to climate change, as well as pandemics, as we all experienced just now recently. Geospatial information is a crucial tool to help nations navigate these challenges effectively, providing insights as well as information to underpin effective policy and economic decisions. And the global market for geospatial information is measured in hundreds of billions of dollars these days, and it keeps increasing each year. Government spending in geospatial information is truly a high impact investment in a nation's long-term economic health. And as a really interesting study supporting this, which we have looked into, the benefits are 3.2 times larger than the cost itself. Such investments, as I mentioned, very often drives economic growth and social benefits for citizens, and also deliver positive change across regions, sectors, as well as applications, from making the basic functions and services of government more efficient, to building national resilience, and also enabling the uptake of emerging technologies, of course. Geospatial information helps us tackle the biggest problems of our time and to capitalize on the greatest opportunities as itself. This by making it possible to monitor, to measure, to predict, and also adapt effectively. Translating data into valuable insights that drives a higher quality of decision making to deliver positive impact and effect on sustainability, on society, as well as on the economy in itself. All really important for our future. Geospatial information is vital for the understanding and monitoring and assessment of a wide range of applications. It can help nations secure long-term food and water security, while increasing productivity and resource availability, predict and mitigate the effects of climate change, rebuild after disasters, generate billions in return from establishments of secure land rights, and also unlock the benefits of technologies such as 5G is coming, Autonomous vehicles is also on its verge of happening, and of course smart cities as such. Sustainable management of the environment, particularly water sources and lakes, forestry, coastal zones, national parks, crop yield predictions, of course, all relies upon geospatial information. Many geospatial information applications are really essentials these days to successfully delivery of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. All UN member states have committed to these goals, which aim to alleviate poverty and provide benefits to citizens. Geospatial information can help countries to reach their targets by improving the planning, the decision making, so making informed decisions, as well as measurements of range of programs as well as services. Investment into geospatial information is an essential component in helping governments to make progress towards all of the tenets of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and also in increasing the income and economic health, of course. Nations have signed up to deliver on these SDGs, and geospatial information is truly the cross-sector catalyst that enables us as nations to help achieve them. In fact, geospatial information can help achieve at least 14 of these 17 goals. So 14 out of these are tied into GI, geospatial information. And 5 out of these 17 are related to land administration. In today's webinar, we'll be looking at the development tools that nations have used to deliver economic development in a sustainable manner. The UN has created something called an Integrated Geospatial Information Framework, so IGIF. This to help countries use geospatial information as a way of achieving sustainable social, economic, and environmental development. As part of this framework, the UN has also outlined 9 strategic pathways in 3 core areas of influence: governance, technology, and people. These act as a guide to help governments implement these integrated geospatial information systems in a way that will support their SDGs, the 17 SDGs as such. Looking into land administration as an example, it is estimated that land accounts for about 75% of the world's total GDP. World Bank has also then estimated that only about 25 to 30% of land in the world is currently mapped and registered. Yet, in some developing countries, up to 70% of new urbanization is unplanned. Being such a valuable resource, planning land in a sustainable manner is crucial to securing a prosperous future. The effective use of geospatial information can help expand access to credit, improve tenure security, administer land taxation, which benefits the nation itself, attract foreign direct investments, of course, and also enable better infrastructure planning. If we look, if we take a closer look at land administration as such, here is a land rights experiment. It's a study published in 2007. It's during the 1980s in Buenos Aires in Argentina. They did a study around a group of families squatted an area of the derelict land. The Argentine parliament passed a law transferring land rights to some of the squatters, compensating the original landowners, but not all of the squatters achieved the tenure. This provided a unique opportunity to study the difference that land rights make on social as well as economic outcomes by comparing 2 groups of people, one with the land rights and the other one without them. Those families who gained land titles had a significantly higher probability of having good quality housing. family with property rights produced fewer children, and the children they had completed secondary education in a much higher numbers. This case study exemplifies the benefits of an effective land tenure system, or facilitated by geospatial information. Moving on to infrastructure and urban planning. So coping with rapid urbanization, and we know that several areas, regions in this world suffers because of urbanization and needs to prepare. So coping with this requires integrated city development, including planning across key services and infrastructure such as roads, waste, water, power, and so on. This is not possible to do without access to reliable geospatial information. Developing natural infrastructure assets also benefits from an integrated application of geospatial information. Such an approach allows governments like ours and others to better optimize existing assets, to increase their efficiency, and to plan new projects. To give an example, precision GNSS technology can be used to accurately locate and map infrastructure assets such as pipelines, stormwater drains, and underground cables. This is particularly useful for local governments, for councils and utility companies that manage large networks of infrastructure assets. Taking a look at the precision agriculture. So agriculture, a massively important industry to all of us, but with a very large waste ratio. So going from crop to plate, there's a lot of waste in that journey. Agriculture accounts for about 37% of the world's land mass, and geospatial technologies play a really important role in managing agricultural land. The combination of map and sensor-based data can increase crop yield while reducing costs significantly for the farmers. So as an example, analysis of high-resolution satellite images for different fields and crops can guide the precise applications of fertilizers and treatments, and inform the farmer the best time to plant or to pick the crops on an individual farm level. It can also enable macro assessments on the performance on different types of crops in different areas, and also inform agriculture policy and guidance and decision making, right? And the diversification of crop planting as such. So geospatial information plays a really important role in the agriculture sector. Taking a closer look on GIS for rice field management, this is a great example. The Malaysian Department of Agriculture, together with the Malaysian Remote Sensing Agency, has actually developed something called the GIS for rice field management. It's an application for rice mapping and monitoring using combination of GIS and satellite imagery. Satellite imagery is not only used for mapping the geographical information of the paddy parcel, but it also monitors and observes the activities during the growth stage, starting from land preparation to harvest. Again, GNSS-based harvesting technology can be used for vehicle guidance, allowing precision harvesting in this case. Its integration with modern communication tools, vehicle-to-vehicle information sharing of yield and moisture layers, wireless transfers of guidance lines, and coverage maps between multiple vehicles locations throughout these fields make the route management efficient and a real cost saver to many of the small farmers as such. Gender equality, a very important topic these days. Geospatial information can absolutely be used to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality, that is. For example, it can be used to improve access to education and employment, and also provide healthcare, which can all improve conditions for women as well as girls. And this is a really interesting and good story out of Jakarta. So Pulse Labs Jakarta, which is a UN data initiative, was able to solve an interesting problem related to gender and development of collecting qualitative geospatial data to provide deeper insights. The Jakarta Ministry of Transportation wanted to provide better transport links for women that worked evenings and night shifts. So after they invested into a network of night buses or night bus routes, there were, however, very little uptake of this new service, something that puzzled everyone. By embedding women researchers at the bus stops and on the bus routes to speak to the service users, they were then able to discover important cultural context about the locations of the bus stops that also, on back of that, explained the low uptake. Some of the locations were not, for example, well lit. There were raised safety concerns, or they were in areas perceived by the women to be dangerous. This also, of course, this incentivized the bus drivers to stop in these areas. A combination of these insights allowed this program to expand, instead placing new routes in locations where women were more likely to use them. And this has been further studied, so you can read more about this in about gender equality as such. There is actually an article on Ordnance Survey's website written by Noor Moala, who's the founder of Collision AI. Healthcare and well-being, another core SDG. According to UN, and I quote, through combining social data on health, education, etc., with geospatial information, planners can conduct geospatial and location-based analysis to identify areas where services and people are or are not being connected. So take, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic that has impacted all of us. This has truly highlighted the importance of geospatial tools in many industries and sectors, including healthcare. The techniques used to monitor and mitigate the virus spread could mark a watershed moment in the use of geospatial technology in international development. To read more about the world's response to COVID-19, there is actually an article on Ordnance Survey's website written by Greg Scott from the UN that highlights this highly relevant and valid topic. By using geospatial information in the fight against pandemics isn't new. It's been around for a long time. One example to highlight was the outbreak of the chikungunya virus, which occurred across the Caribbean in the 2013 and 2014. One example is that the Ministry of Health in Trinidad and Tobago used a geospatial application for smartphones to help identify the locations of those infected by the virus. By identifying these hotspots, they were able to send the teams to eradicate the virus carrying mosquitoes in that specific area. And at the same time, educating locals in protective measures as such. During this webinar, I've explained how geospatial data drives economic growth, creating value in private and public sectors and enabling a geospatial ecosystem that unlocks the future. It helps governments build a prosperous, sustainable future for its citizens by driving sustainable development, fueling the data economy, predicting and preventing crises, tackling the negative effects of urbanization, respond to climate change, enhancing government efficiency, and growing your economy as such as well. Building natural digital base maps is a core process in enabling your natural digital economy to flourish. But these base maps are also fundamental enablers in providing the most basic of government services, including establishment of property ownership, allocating resources, and planning infrastructure. Into this growing market, governments should consider what we call a geospatial maturity assessment from an established mapping agency. This will help to identify how to upgrade the digital geospatial ecosystem in a way that maximizes societal benefits and economic growth. We at Ordnance Survey, we offer geospatial maturity assessments as well to all governments, wherever they are on their geospatial journey. We are all in different phases, but the geospatial maturity assessment is really critical eye-opener. They take into account a range of really important aspects related to geospatial information, such as collecting and managing data. And we know how important data is becoming for our futures. Also, data quality and data governance, product and service development for the citizens and for companies and for better decision makers, corporate governance, stakeholder engagements, looking at supply chain and operations management, and also the innovation aspect, using and better leveraging geospatial technologies. This is definitely something for each and every one of the nations on attending this webinar, and there's plenty of us on this, I see, to look further into. So please feel free to reach out to myself later on to find out more. Our experience in this area, as a natural mapping agency of Great Britain, I would say that your business is our business. We're all working together for a better world here. We're not a consulting company or an aerial capture company. We are the national mapping agency, just like many of yourselves on this webinar. We are being owned by the British government, means that we're trustworthy and we're a stable organization. We're not going anywhere. We've been around for a long time and we are here to stay. We do these things mentioned for Great Britain and the benefits of the citizens. And what we do in Great Britain, we're happy to do elsewhere around the world as well. We are fairly unique in the sense that, or we are unique, I should say, in the sense that we create and maintain one of the largest, most accurate and trusted geospatial databases in the world. And we do that for you as well, because working together with us, you benefit from that. And with this massive geospatial database comes innovation, because it's underpinned of that data. And on back of innovation, I should mention the potential for artificial intelligence and the machine learning itself, all to be able to provide much greater outputs for your nations. We don't always work alone. We often work with trusted partners so we can deliver assurance. We team up with partners that are best in their respective areas. And important to us is that we use local partners as well. We support localization policies, the knowledge transfer, and on back of our engagement with other governments, we go in and we build these really important ecosystems locally and domestically in your countries. To us, the long-term aspect is very important. We're not in this for the short term. We will not be able to improve nations and jointly the world together unless we have a long-term partnership mentality. What I would also like to highlight in this is Ordnance Survey, we're also members of what's called OGC, standards work. We're a strategic partner of OGC, and everything we do there subscribes to the open and interoperability standards that we push across the world. We're also members of UNGGIM and IGIF, as I mentioned before. We are heavily involved in what's called the Inspire standards. We, as Ordnance Survey, were actually the main architect of the European standards for interoperability within the EU. And ISO is also close to our heart. We have something called ISO 19158 development, which Ordnance Survey was actually originator for when it comes to an ISO quality standard for map quality assurance. So just to mention some of our experience that we are very proud of in that sense. Here you will see a world map with countries we have heavily engaged on the government to government level. That's usually how we work together. And we are a truly international brand and organization as well. Very often we engage with countries when it comes to either creating a base map and digitizing what you have, or work with land administration work. These both significant areas ties very much into the socioeconomic benefit, intelligent data, census data, and so on. All very, very relevant for our future. So in summary, the return on the investment, ROI, on assessing and expanding a nation's geospatial maturity reaches far beyond any cost-benefit analysis. Government spending on geospatial information is a high-impact investment in a nation's long-term economic health, which benefits, as per studies we've seen, 3.2 times larger than the actual cost. Truly impressive numbers considering the sheer scale and volume we work on. So with that, thank you so much for listening.